absorbing them. Basically, your morning oatmeal is robbing you of nutrients. But nothing can make peanut butter healthy. Peanut butter is a total scam. Manufacturers believe that they can say protein on the label or add extra protein to something and make it healthy. This is skibby peanut butter, so it's ground up peanuts, which are going to be oxidized and contain the peanut oil, which is the seed oil. This also contains a hydrogenated vegetable oil, which isn't good, and soybean oil, and canola oil. And
can I do the double butter burger and add bacon, please?
Alright. Do you want that in a basket or
basket would be dope. And then can I swap out the French fries for cheese curds?
Yeah.
Okay, look at that. Not trying to throw any shade at Culvers. Love me some Culvers. And frankly, if you're not from the Midwest and you don't have access to one, I feel so bad for you. I'm just trying to have fun with this concept that, you know, we've got these leading nutrition experts telling us that we can't eat objectively healthy, nutritious, inexpensive foods now. Oatmeal, peanut butter, eggs, vegetables, things like that. And meanwhile, I think when people are getting really confused with these types of messages, they are ultimately just going to revert back to what they are familiar with, what is convenient, and in many cases, that is going to be fast food, pizza, something that you buy and throw in the microwave, those sorts of options. So if you're trying to get healthy, if you're trying to move forward but don't know where to start, where do you go from here? First, I think we're going to take it here to this alleyway because I need a second for my caffeine to set in. This art looks sick, and I think I'm going to write some stuff on the wall here, maybe up here. All right, so what's the goal here? I think probably two things. Longevity, for sure. We probably want to have a good quality of life. Now, if you spend some time researching into this, you'll find that nutrition, physical activity, sleep, limiting alcohol, managing stress, not smoking, it's these big picture lifestyle choices that really matter. And that's not to say unfavorable genetics or environment or things like that don't, but overall, most of us really can avoid or at least significantly delay what we consider the preventable diseases. And if you look at that as the game of longevity and quality of life, it makes what social media focuses on seem like small details. Some of them could matter, but some of them might not at all. Now you might be thinking to yourself, what does this have to do with Culver's? Well, I think context matters here. If you're 2-3+ years into your health journey, you found a diet that works for you, maybe you're hitting the gym 3+ times a week, you're in a totally different ballgame. This video is focused more on people who are trying to get there, who don't understand why the type of peanut butter that they buy matters. Is it bad to eat meat? Is it good to eat meat? Those types of questions. And so to understand those, I think a good place to start is fundamental things like
this issue of energy balance.
You might know this as calories in, calories out. Energy in, well, that's anything you consume, good or bad. Energy out, that's any physical activity and even the most minor of body functions. Now keep in mind, this is different per person. Natural hunger drives are different. Genes, hormones, sex, medications, anything plays a role. But the takeaway is energy balance. It factors all of it in. And now that we've got energy balance down, I think the next step is to think about how we sort of manage our calories. And personally, I think one of the easiest ways to handle that, you basically just think about it the same way you would think about budgeting finances. All right, so to keep it easy, let's just roll with $2,500 for both. For the finances, first you factor out the planned expenses. Let's say you got $100 for your birthday, and you stuck to the budget, ending up with $350 you can save. Okay, same with calories. You factor out the planned meals. We'll say you burn an extra $250 because you went on a long walk. So you end up with $350 less than you burned. Repeat this a few times, and you're going to be on your way to losing body fat. But the flip side can go a completely different direction. Say this month you blew a bunch of money on eating out and updated furniture around the house. So you went way over budget, which means you racked up credit card debt. And the same logic applies with calories. In this example, you had a great breakfast at home before work. On the way, you stopped at Starbucks for one of those delicious seasonal coffees. Someone brought in Quick Trip donuts, so of course you knock one of those down. And you actually end up skipping lunch entirely because you're too busy. So after work, you hit up Wingstop with your friends. Nothing crazy here, just 10 lemon pepper traditional wings and a large fry, which is crazy savory, so you gotta wash that down with a large strawberry Fanta, and bam, just like that, you're over by almost 1,600 calories for the day. Pretty shocking considering you didn't even eat lunch. Yeah, and this just sort of adds up over time. And quick, maybe 30-second sidebar, energy imbalance is what's gonna end up leading to obesity. And obesity is very highly correlated with things like high blood pressure, high blood sugar, unhealthy cholesterol levels, fat in your abdominal, midsection. And when you have 3 out of those 4 things, they actually call it metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome really increases your risks of getting those preventable diseases I talked about in the beginning of the video. So I'll just kind of wrap that up there, but I think after understanding energy balance and imbalance, the next place to hit is probably the actual quality of the food that you're eating. Imagine there's a spectrum of food quality. On one side, you've got whole food, and clear on the other end is ultra-processed foods. Most of what we eat's probably somewhere in between. The ingredients list of a whole food is the food itself. But an ultra-processed food, like Doritos, would have a massive list of ingredients. On this end of the spectrum, food stays closer to natural, usually, and by eating a variety of them, you'd get all the nutrients and fiber you could ask for. You'd feel nice and full, and you'd eat less calories overall because of that. And then as you approach the other end of the spectrum, food starts to have very low nutritional value. It lacks fiber, has lots of saturated fat and added sugar, and it makes them calorie bombs that you can keep eating because you never feel full. Now, of course, there's some nuance and discussion to be had about individual items, but in general, the idea is if you drew a line somewhere around here, try to stay on that side of it.
Stop looking for little tiny nuances that can excuse you out of eating junk food. You want to eat nasty shit. I get it. I do too. I love it. Mac and cheese with all that crap on top, French fries, burgers. It tastes amazing. But it's because it tastes amazing. It's because it's loaded with calories. Because you overeat it. That's why you get fat and unhealthy. It's not the seed oils, folks. We didn't lost that football on the way to go and get the touchdown with it. We just fumbled somewhere.
All of the guidelines to prevent cancer, to prevent diabetes, to prevent cardiovascular disease, all of the recommendations for nutrition are similar because the science is similar. So eating
more whole foods and vegetables, less refined grain and added sugar. I don't know anyone who disagrees with that. Even keto and low-fat vegan agrees with that. I can't think of any more polar opposites than those two.
My patients overeat ultra-processed foods. They eat tons of unnecessary added sugars. And as a result, they're very sick. Cardiovascular disease, strokes, diabetes, etc. None of my patients are overeating fruits.
But no one said anything about perfection.
Even the quote-unquote best diet, if it's in excess of energy balance, will produce poor metabolic health. It's better to have a 7 out of 10 diet in terms of quality and perfection that you can sustain indefinitely than a 10 out of 10 diet that you can only sustain for 3 or 6 months.
Listen, when you consistently eat well, you just don't have to stress about occasionally indulging. And those really fine details are probably a distraction if your average week is still the standard American diet. And that's where I'm wrapping up today's video. 80% of the results in nutrition come down to 3 things. Manage energy balance with more whole foods on any diet that works for you. As for the debates and confusion, they live down here. Don't get lost in the weeds trying to optimize that last 20% if you haven't already locked in on what matters.